Hey Most Amazing Top 10 family, I'm your host Jade Arena and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. How many of you out there are big readers? Yearly reading challenges are a great thing to pick up. You can take a walk down to your local library, pick out a book, and watch your mind start to expand right before you. Also, you might get a little message in your book that will send a chill down your spine. I mean, this can happen in more ways than one. Sometimes it can be a handwritten note, or it could just be an excerpt from the book itself. Either way, it can be terrifying. And that is why I'm bringing you today's list of top 10 scary notes found in library books. As always, I would love it if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell, and stick around for the whole list because I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts, which you guys love so much. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram, and without taking any longer, let's get into this list. At number 10, we have a warning from your son. There's something about a threat from a kid that makes it so much more terrifying. You know that they can't really hurt you, but in the same way, they scare the crap out of you because you just feel like they're going to get you. They know the angles to come at you, and they can come get you when you're sleeping and you live in your home. Well, a mother went to lay down and enjoy her book one day, and she found a note from her little boy in her book, and she was very surprised. And it read, "Never put nature aside for television. You burned my feelings today, and I am warning you to never do what you did today again." Holy, this kid doesn't mess around. This is one strike and you're out. How do you put up with something like that just walking around your home? I mean, there is a good part left behind in this note. Never put nature aside for television. This kid is probably gonna grow up to have a bright future in conservation right after he finishes turning his whole family into a series of fleshy dolls. At number 9, we have Knock. Horror shorts are an amazing way to give yourself a nice case of insomnia, but that is the juice horror fans show up for, and the Frederick Brown short story Knock does not pull any punches in this regard. It is about the last person stranded on the planet. That alone would fill your body with a bleak feeling of hopelessness, but then this book ups the ante with this line: "The last man on earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock at the door." Just piling on the problems for this poor sap. You can't just let him die alone in this horrible world. You have to include something mysterious to terrorize him. This is only a short story, so I'd say it's definitely worth the read. And if you wanted to get that reading challenge started late, this is a good way to sneak in one. Technically, it's a story, so you're getting the whole thing in. That counts as one, I think. I don't know, maybe. At number 8, we have The Task. This article was written in Book Riot, and it covered the interesting world of college libraries and how people will often leave behind motivational letters in books. It's something that is really nice, a little booster to get you through your studying. You know that someone else has been in the same situation, and now you're going through that situation. Also, they are rooting for you, and they've made it through themselves. Even if the person is faceless, it still seems nice. Now, this story led to a note that was left in a book, but this note had instructions. It told the person reading it that they needed to write down the date which they found the note and then put it into another book. This seems harmless enough, but I decided to put a creepy spin on it. Why was this person asked to do this thing? Was this a simple experiment, or was the person who originally made the note watching, tracking each person who passed the note from book to book? What happens if they forego the instructions and don't bother to play along? Does another game start? These are just the creepy thoughts that are leaking out of my mind, but who knows? Maybe I'm right. At number 7, we have Clive Barker's Book of Blood. With a title like that, it should be no surprise that it made it onto this list of creepy notes found in books. This is also a nice quote pulled out of the book. The extremely talented author left a little tidbit in there for us. Everyone is a book of blood. Wherever we're open, we're red. And of course, red is spelled R-E-D. What a nice little poem. It sounds like something Hannibal Lecter would say right before he starts to carve you up and put your organs into Ziploc freezer bags. At number 6, we have a note left in a Bible. This was from a Reddit thread started back in August of 2008. It was a guy who was staying in a hotel, and he had a question for the world of Reddit. He wanted to know what note he should leave behind in the Bible in his hotel room. Just a quick note, who knew that Reddit had been around since 2008? I wonder if it was more or less toxic back then. If you're a longtime Reddit user, let me know in the comments. Well, this thread wasn't very long, but the most popular comment was for him to leave behind a note which said this: "This is a work of fiction, do not take this seriously." Then there is a content advisory part of the sticker. It warns the reader that the book contains bestiality, incest, violence, sexual violence, use of drugs and alcohol, and then it goes on after that. It follows that with an exposure warning saying that it can cause children to have delusions and hallucinations. Now, the note itself is obviously just someone trying to get a reaction, but that's the part that I think could be scary. What if someone read this and they got extremely mad? They took it a little bit too seriously because they didn't like that someone was trying to defile the Bible, and then they freaked out, or maybe they tried to hurt someone, or maybe this just all ended as a fun joke. We will never know. At number 5, we have the Dollhouse Murders, a children's book. I just want to highlight that this is a kid's book, and that's why I put it on the list. There are so many notes that I could pull out of this book that I'm just going to kind of highlight the whole thing because of how creepy it is. So I'll just give you the rundown of what the book is about. A little girl moves into her grandparents' house, and there's a dollhouse in there. The dolls in the dollhouse start reenacting her grandparents' murder. Talk about traumatizing. Having your grandparents killed is bad enough, but then you have to relive it as these dolls act out every scenario, and then you find out that dolls can move on their own? No thank you. At number 4, we have the end of House of Leaves. If you haven't heard about the book House of Leaves, it's kind of a mind bender. It's about multiple perspectives, and it follows both the contents of a script that exists only inside the book and the life of the person reading that script, along with some other letters of people who seem to be slipping into insanity. The script within the book highlights a house that is impossibly big on the interior and has a hallway that opens up into a massive room that shifts and moves and changes and might be home to some sort of demonic beast or spirit. The house leads to the death of several people before evaporating like the end of Poltergeist. A Reddit user wrote about reading this book, but also that someone had left a note at the end of the book claiming that this was a real place and that they had gone there. Seeing that the book takes place in multiple realities, it's not a surprise that someone would take it one step further and put the book into our world. But what if it was real? What if this supernatural house exists somewhere in the world and this person did find it? At number 3, we have Rising Again. This is the last actual line I'm actually pulling from the book itself, something that the author wrote, and this is the perfect one to end off on. This is from the book Beloved by Toni Morrison, and it goes like this: people who die bad don't stay in the ground. Zombies, you gotta love them. Now, what does die bad mean? Does that have something to do with dying when you love someone or you have unfinished business? Or maybe it means that someone has been murdered. I haven't read this book, so I don't know exactly what the line is alluding to, but now I am curious enough that I will probably go pick it up. At number 2, we have a love note. A college girl from Kansas took a book from her school library, and there was something left inside it that sent a shiver down her spine. It might have been nothing, but it did make her feel really uneasy. It was a love note. Someone had gone out of their way to profess their love to a girl. She didn't think it was about her, but it was in the book. Basically, the letter said about how much they love this person, about how their body aches when they aren't around her, but then it went into details about how they watch her, about how they follow her. The most disturbing part was the note detailed a breakdown of what the girl looks like when she sleeps. It was then closed off with the initials SD. She turned it over to the librarian, and the school looked into it briefly, but there was no way they could tell who left the note or if it was actually real. It could have all just been a prank by some student to get someone freaked out, but then again, maybe it was real. And for our number 1 spot, we have a note to Jesus. This note might have saved someone's life, but the context is quite frightening. In October of 2013, a note was found in the Bible of an 8-year-old girl. This was a note to Jesus, and it was about how someone had been abusing her for the past 6 years. Eric Riviera was 37 at the time, and he'd been taking advantage of this poor girl. When the note was found, it was quickly turned over to the police, who performed a raid on Riviera's house and found that the girl's description of Riviera's house in the notes was exactly right. He was quickly arrested, and not long after he was arrested, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Alright everyone, that is our list, and as promised, I'm going to be giving some more pet shoutouts. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. I pick new pets every day, so if you don't get picked one day, you can message back another day. I usually pick people who messaged most recently, so just get in those DMs, baby. Message me as many times as you want. I don't care. If it takes me a little while to get back to you, I'm very sorry. I got a lot of these to do. And without taking any longer, let's shout out some pets. To kick it off, we have 2 snuggling cats. The black one is Naruto, and the yellow one is Honey. They are probably having the best quarantine together, snuggling. Also, is it Naruto? Naruto? I don't know. You guys will correct me in the comments. Next up, we have Chester, who has one of the best sad boy begging faces I have ever seen. He looks like he just did something bad and he needs forgiveness. Look at him, he's just like, oh, I love it so much. After that, we have this big old fluffy cat. Look at him, look at his hair, he looks great. Then we have the cutest little puppy Roan. Oh my God, how sweet this puppy is. I just need to squeeze it and love it. That's what I gotta do. And to close it out, we have the wonderful wilderness shot with Luna. That dog looks so dang majestic, I can't even handle it. All right, everyone, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been your host, Jay Dorena, and keep reading books. They're good for your brain. Bye.